What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You dead meat!
Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Hail and well met, and welcome to the Dead Meat Podcast, your horror safe haven. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm James, and we're engaged, and we like to get ye oldie scared together. I didn't know you were gonna change it up on us.
We are wearing our Renaissance fair costume, or like stuff that we would wear. You're wearing a whole mixture of things.
I just grabbed some stuff from the closet.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Renaissance fair dress that I made, so we're only about like 400 years off. So we tried.
Wait, when does this movie take place?
So Arthurian stuff, I feel like I think the tale of Gawain, Garn. It was written in like 1100 something. I think Arthurian scholars, don't yell at me for this entire episode, please. I'm trying my best. Your field is very dense. But I think it's weird. I think the tales themselves take place like a few hundred years before that. But I think every like adaptation of them just kind of puts them in like medieval times, so like 1100, 1200.
Okay, I'm seeing Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is a late 14th century poem.
Okay, so that's the 1300s.
Yeah.
So I was a few hundred years off.
Yeah.
So okay, that's still medieval times though. Medieval times goes up to like 1500.
Oh, okay. See, that's why I limited myself in high school to learning about American history. Only a couple of hundred years.
I'll clarify medieval times in like England and stuff.
Okay.
Because like the Tudors are considered the beginning of like modern England and kind of like the end, like the War of the Roses is kind of the end of the Middle Ages.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I love English history a lot. Like I love the Tudors. I'm obsessed with them. Yeah, once you get back a little bit farther, though, is when I don't know as much, so bear with me here. There's a lot to learn about Arthurian stuff.
Hey, Chelsea, The Green Knight's not a horror movie, is it?
It seems spooky enough to me. It's honestly kind of a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I would say this is not a horror movie at all.
I think it's not a horror movie, but I wouldn't be mad if I saw Green Knight stuff at a horror convention. It has vibes.
The trailer was posted to the horror subreddit when the trailer came out, because I think the trailer made it look kind of spooky.
Yeah.
And it's an A24 film, and they don't just do horror films, but they definitely, I think, are associated with horror.
And I don't know, I think medieval England and like Arthurian lore is extremely creepy. Like, there is something very creepy about this kind of older England where it's this weird time period of like everyone converting to Christianity and stuff and like repressing all this paganism, and there's just so much magic, and there's something about it that is just such a weird, creepy time, and all the lore from it's creepy. There's all kinds of supernatural creatures and stuff running around, and I think it's a lot of fun. Witches, wizards. Like, as much as this isn't a horror movie, I think whatever.
You know what? The podcast, we're allowed to get loosey-goosey. It's close. I would say it's closer to horror than I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah, 100%.
Which we covered.
Yeah.
And you know what? What the fuck ever, man. We can talk about what we want here.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I just really wanted to watch this movie, and sometimes we don't watch stuff unless we're covering it for something that we're working on.
That's the sad reality of our lives.
Yeah. This movie shreds. It's very good. I loved it. I knew I was gonna love it. The trailer was just extremely my shit. I wasn't super familiar with this specific tale, but I have like a cursory knowledge of Arthurian lore, and
I will say that you read the tale the night before we watched it, because we were gonna watch that one time, the one day only streaming thing, and then it was sold out, which I didn't know was a possibility. But I'm glad that happened in the end, because you read the story and then you told me about the story, and I think knowing the story going into it helps.
100%. If you haven't seen this yet and you're thinking, should I watch it knowing nothing, or should I read maybe a version of the story first? Go read a version of the story first. I think, or even just read like just a skim through Wikipedia about Gawain, and Arthurian stories and kind of how all the characters are related to each other. It kind of varies because they're not like any one specific creation. So people, like different authors, do different things with them, but there's consistencies, and it's kind of neat to know all that stuff before you go in so you can see what the filmmaker's doing with it, David Lowery, and what he's changing, what he's keeping, maybe what he is, kind of making a nod towards. And I don't know, I thought it was really helpful.
Yeah, I just liked knowing what to expect, kind of, because it's very meandering almost. It's like
not in a bad
vignettes.
way.
It's like little vignettes, each that have their own titles sometimes in the film, and I liked knowing, like, oh, we'll get to the resolution of the story eventually. In the meantime, we're gonna watch these little adventures that Gawain goes on.
Yeah, I like all the little vignettes because it's weird how it made it feel like kind of this epic saga, even though the original story, if anything, I would imagine it being kind of sandwiched into a larger thing because it's not a very long or complicated story, which is why when I read it, I was like, how is this a movie?
Yeah.
And it's already been made into movies before. It's been adapted a lot. It's actually one of the like Arthurian stories that gets like adapted into stuff a lot. Not necessarily full-length movies, but just like, plays or like puppet shows. Like in the movie, there's a puppet show. But I guess I don't even know where to start. Like, should I give some background about like the character and just like what we're dealing with here?
Sure.
So yeah, props to our very good friend Caitlin Postal, who is a medieval scholar, and so I messaged her like, give me sources that aren't hard to read, thank you. So she and some of her friends who are also medieval scholars gave me some good sourcing that I think my primary source is this essay by Ryan Harper from the Camelot Project. So, which was like just very cursory like background of specifically Gawain, and that was super helpful. Then also this comic by I believe Emily Cheeseman it's this comic version of the legend, and I loved it. It took me like half hour to read maybe, but it's such a cute retelling of the story, and like I highly recommend checking that out before you watch the movie if you can. I'll put links in the description. But so basically, Gawain, okay, obviously we all know there's King Arthur. He's got his Knights of the Round Table. He's the king of the Britons. I just think of Monty Python. Graham Chapman's king of the Britons. He's got his round table with all his knights, and I'm just going to keep alternating between Gawain and Gawain. Don't yell at me for pronouncing it wrong, because apparently no one knows how to pronounce it.
Yeah, in the movie, I swear I heard Garin.
There's a few different. Everyone's putting their own spin on it.
They're throwing R's in there. I don't know. It sounds weird.
Yeah, we're making it sound real Welsh in that movie, I think.
I just want to go with, like, Gawain's World.
Yeah, Gawain's World. Gawain's World, top 10. Babes of all... He would also do Babes of All Time. I'm not even going to change that. So, Gawain is usually Arthur's nephew. I would say, like most of the time. Because, like, again, these characters are super malleable and people change them. But he's usually Arthur's nephew. His parents change. Like, it's not consistent, like, who his parents are in relation to Arthur. In the film, The Green Knight, his mother is Morgan Le Fay, who is, like, this... She's a sorceress witch. She's not, like, always evil, but I wouldn't say she's, like, a good character.
I never got super into either Arthurian stuff or Greek stuff, like Greek gods.
Well, because there's no canon.
There's no canon.
Yeah.
And my brain, especially when I was young, was like, I need facts and, like, regimented, this is what this is.
Sure,
and when you read two different stories and you get two different just basic facts about a character, my brain was like, nah, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, it's weird because I was kind of drawn to the, like, there's different versions of these things. Like, I loved Greek myth. I feel like every kid went through a Greek mythology.
Yeah, I tried and then was confronted with that and was like, no.
It's hard. Yeah, I took a Norse mythology course in college, and that was, it's hard to study because it's just like, everyone's ideas of who these people are so different.
By the way, any D&D listeners out there, I didn't know this until literally we were preparing to watch this movie. Gressel Based, the villain in that's our D&D podcast that we're on, the villain in there, Morgan,
yeah.
is based on Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea.
I don't know why, I just never made the connection before.
I was like, wait, a witchy sister who pops up from time to time. I think that's where he was drawn from.
Yeah.
Confirmed, yes. So does Gawain become king in...
I don't know. I really don't know a ton about Arthurian legend. I really don't. I honestly don't think I could answer that for you. Even in this essay I read, they didn't elaborate on that. So I don't know, but he is in line, and he's basically the most important, male relative of Arthur. And because he's really important, succession-wise, and also because he's not technically a prince, he is a weird character because he kind of has this freedom to just do whatever, because he has both the power, the prestige, and also has no ties to being responsible for anything, because he's technically not the direct heir to the throne. So he's kind of this weird thing for authors to play with, because he can just he can do whatever. This essay calls him an Arthurian everyman, which is kind of interesting. So he's kind of a draw for a lot of writers, apparently.
And I think what the movie does really well is establish that trait and situation that Gawain is in within the first 5-10 minutes. I mean, we get to the inciting incident pretty quickly in this, the whole Christmas game with the Green Knight.
Yeah.
But prior to that, we just get a couple of sends with Gawain, and it immediately establishes...
It's so good.
Yeah, that he's kind of a fuck off, a layabout.
Yeah.
He just gets drunk, sleeps in, has a lover named Essel, who's clearly a commoner.
Yeah.
She's not she's wearing rags and stuff. And his mom is oh, you should do something with yourself. You get a sense of who he is.
He's he's not a knight in this version, which is interesting. In the story I read, he already was a knight of the Round Table. He's not a knight. Yeah, he's young. He just kind of fucks off, does what he wants. He lies and says he's going to church, and he doesn't. And that's something where in this essay they talk about Gawain and how his character ranges. Sometimes he's super virtuous, and other times he's almost thuggish. He varies so much. But the one thing that I think ends up being consistent about him is he's super human. He's the most human out of all the knights, the most relatable, even has the most human flaws, and ends up being relatable because of that. He's I don't think he's ever a villain. He ends up, even if he's a fuck up, he redeems himself, and he kind of goes on a journey of learning to be a knight. And yeah, that's what he does here. I like that we get kind of a fuck up Gawain. It's super interesting. Apparently, I think David Lowery said that he based a lot of his character and his relationship to his mother Morgan on his real life relationship with his mom, and being kind of a fuck up who won't move out of the house and stuff. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with David Lowery's other work.
He did the Pete's Dragon remake. Yeah,
which I never saw.
We should give it. I heard it's good. I heard it's a good remake, but I know how much we love the original in this house.
The original, that's right.
But I feel he. And granted, I know the remake is totally different. It's barely the only thing it has in common with the original is there's a green dragon in it.
Yeah.
Named Elliot. I
yeah,
think.
I don't think there's any Goggins or.
No, but that's what I'm saying is he could do probably real good with the Goggins, just dirty weirdos.
Is that their name, the Goggins?
I don't know.
Was
that's what you just said. That
the Gogans, I think maybe
something like that. I guess the last thing about the story too, which I think is wild, is the only copy of it that we have that's contemporary is just this parchment that it's miraculous that it even survived a fire and all kinds of other shit. And you can read the text. The text of it's on Wikipedia, and you can't even understand it because it's Old English. It's basically a different language. But no one knows who wrote it. It's just an anonymous parchment. Basically, this story is very popular, one of the more popular Arthurian ones. I feel it's one of the more feel-good ones too.
That's the thing, is when you described to me the story, when you retold it to me, at the end I was like, that's a happy story in the end.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Because
the movie's a little bit more ambiguous. I think in the end, very end, it ends up being happy if you interpret it correctly.
After like especially sitting with it for a day, I 100% think it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll get into it because this movie is long and
it's like 2 hours 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll probably be like all over the place with this because I think we're counting this one just straight up in the order it happens. It's gonna sound like Mad Libs a little bit because it's so weird, and I'll probably just want to like kind of interpret it as we go along and talk about like what we read into it because there's so like this movie's dense, and anyone who thinks that this movie is just all style and no substance is like, I don't understand what you were watching. For me at least, I think this movie has so much going on.
Yeah, I mean right off the bat, this movie's beautiful.
It's
so nice to look at throughout the entire time. We did the streaming. We rented it and streamed it. I wish we had seen it in theaters because
I wish we'd seen it.
It's one. I mean, streaming is really good nowadays, but when it gets to those blacks and dark tones, you always see the banding, no matter how good your bandwidth is and your internet speed. And it's just like this movie was shot so beautifully. I wish we could have seen it in perfection.
Yeah, we meet Gawain. He wakes up in I think a brothel because there's naked ladies everywhere, and he's with Essel, who is his. I think she's a sex worker.
Oh, Alicia Vikander.
Yeah, Alicia Vikander, who definitely has fake teeth in while she's playing Essel.
Is that a little wig too?
I don't know if it's a wig or it probably is a wig.
Yeah,
she's got short hair. Yeah, which I kind of like that detail because I feel like back then.
Is it just to keep it cleaner?
I think typically, and I could be wrong here, but I think historically it's either like they cut it to sell it. Cut it to sell it, or if you get sick, there's like certain illnesses I think where like they just cut off because like get bugs and shit in it, or like lice. I don't know.
Good times.
Yeah, basically just like either disease or you gotta sell it, which is a marker of like she's a lower class, But I think it's a very cute haircut.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So we also meet Gawain's mom, who is Morgan Le Fay. This is never said during the movie either. It's kind of like you would know if you looked on IMDb after.
And the king says, "You're my sister's son." So if you know that character.
Yeah, if you're like, okay, it's Arthur's sister and also she's doing magic pretty early on, you can kind of put two and two together.
And is it what's the actress's name? Is it Sarita Chowdhury?
Yeah, that sounds right. Sarita.
Yes, she was in Homeland.
That's right, yeah.
She was Saul's ex-wife.
So, yeah, she's already up to some shady stuff. She's doing some magic. She's wearing green. So, I think we already kind of know. I think that they're super associated, her and the Green Knight and all the magic going on here. In a lot of versions of the story, she is responsible for the ensuing events of the story. So
well, it seems like that's the case because she skips out on the dinner that night at the round table, and while Arthur, I really like the scene between King Arthur and Gawain where Arthur's
love
like,
this scene.
I don't really know you, and I'm not saying that as like a reproachment. I'm saying it as regret.
Yeah,
that, like, I never got to know my nephew, and he looks sickly.
Yeah,
I'm assuming he's supposed to be near the end of his life.
God, this guy, I forget the actor's name. Sean Harris. Because I know real life, he and Kate Dickie, is that her name? Kate Dickie. They're not old, but they are made up to. They look
real sickly.
They look like how you would look if you were like 50 and in medieval times. We're like, that's fucking old back then, or like you're at least getting sick,
Yeah, they look like not great.
Yeah,
very pallid. Is that?
Yeah, and just sallow and just
sallow. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, he asks Gawain to tell him a story, and Gawain's like, I just imagine like mental flashback of just like brothel scenes, and that's kind of it. He's like, oh, I don't have any stories. Maybe not the stories that are appropriate for a big Christmas dinner.
And
Queen
Kate Dickie's like, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I love. She is barely in this movie, but is like. She just is amazing.
Yeah, and she is, of course, from Game of Thrones.
Yes, Liza.
And also
Tully.
The Witch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Liza. Breastfed a crow.
Kate Dickie and Ralph Ineson back at it again in this A24 movie.
Yep.
Yeah, no, there's like her Guinevere. Both Guinevere and Arthur in this. I instantly get why everyone would like die for them. Do you know what I mean?
I really like King Arthur. He's so like soft-spoken and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems real chill.
And like Arthur's another character where like depending on the story, he either is like this guy or he's just an idle kind of shitty king where like he was cool back in the day, but now he's lazy and gets everyone to do his shit for him.
Also in this, and I don't think said by name, Merlin.
Oh,
because like
Merlin
when the Green Knight walks in, Arthur looks over to this fucking old guy with a beard, and he's got like tats underneath his eyes. I'm like, that guy's Merlin.
That Merlin is so fucking cool looking in this.
Yeah, he is.
And he doesn't even talk, and I love it. He looks like Rasputin. Yeah. I don't know. Like and again, like Merlin in Arthurian stories, like the Merlin, when you think of like the Sword and the Stone, like the Disney, like that Merlin is like so far away from what Merlin in these stories was. Merlin was kind of a chaotic neutral, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. People are gonna give me so much shit for this episode, but I feel like he really like rode the line a lot, and he wasn't like on the up and up always. He is kind of scary, and this Merlin is fucking cool looking. Yeah,
he is.
I love him. Then in comes that boy. It's that boy. It's the Green Knight. He walks in. This is after kind of a long sequence of we see witches. It's Gawain's mom and these other witches like summoning something. We've got blindfolds. It's creepy.
Looks like friggin' Black Star music video.
It does remind me of the Black Star music video. Yeah. And so in comes the Green Knight, and he is big and green. And he makes loud noises when he walks. Yeah, and whenever he moves his body around, it's very crackly. He's got his big bough of holly that he's carrying because it's Crimbus. And
I thought it was mistletoe. I thought he was looking for a kiss.
I mean, maybe there's a lot of kissing in this movie.
That's true.
Everyone wants kisses in this one, so you're not wrong or like off. I love that you just hear it's like all just sword noises. Like the captions should have just been like sword sounds. Everyone's unsheathing their swords. It's great. You know that they're all like not upset this guy showed up, because this has to be just a very boring time to be around. And like Arthurian stories, I feel like the shit everyone gets up to is just like, yeah, what else was there to do? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's the case with this stupid fucking game.
Yeah.
The Green Knight walks in, and Arthur kind of like looks at Merlin, and Merlin's like, yeah, just like let him do his thing. And so the Green Knight steps up, and it's Ralph Ineson with mocap, looking like a Groot or some shit.
I thought it was makeup.
Is it?
I think it's a combination.
It's probably a combo.
I think it's a combo.
But he's like a walking tree, pretty much. But he's got Ralph Ineson's awesome ass voice, and he's talking about, here, I got a game for y'all. I'm gonna
a friendly Christmas game.
Yeah. One of you can strike me.
Yeah.
And then in a year I'll hit you back.
Yeah.
Cool game, dude.
It's boring to live in this time. And also, again, like, these stories, I think the hardest thing for someone who is, like, from our time, reading them, and this is why this adaptation is so cool, because as much as it modernizes some stuff, it leaves a lot of it, like, pretty just spot on, like, accurate to these stories, where it's like, why? Do you know what I mean? Like, the things that are either fun or important or, like, to like the characters in these stories to a modern audience seem like what just weird.
They're different value systems.
It's just different, man. It's just a different time.
Yeah, it's like no.
In a game like this is like, you know, when someone proposes something like this, you're not like, sounds dumb. You're like, oh, I could use this as a chance to prove myself, which is what Gawain sees it as, and it's like, all right, I'll do it. Yeah, it's very Frodo like volunteering to carry the ring, and Gandalf being like, dude, are you sure about this? Yeah,
except he doesn't have a sword, so Arthur gives him Excalibur to use.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Dude, we were watching it with the Gressels, and I feel like all four of us were like, whoa, like he's giving him Excalibur. That's fucking crazy, man. I don't know why in my head, like Excalibur, like it's magical to a point. I don't think like it's not a thing where like other people can't hold it. I don't know why I was like, is this allowed?
Thor's hammer or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Green Knight's like, he just kneels down And that really confuses Gawain. He's like, what the fuck's going on here?
The acting in this scene, and I love that after the movie, both our friend Erica and I were like, this specific scene, we were like kind of blown away by Dev Patel.
Have we said Dev Patel's name yet? Or was that the first time we did?
I don't know, dude.
I don't think we did.
Really?
Dev Patel plays Gawain. Yeah, he's fucking great.
Which is weird. Maybe it's just such like a Gawain is like a real person to me in this. He's so fucking Dev Patel is so good in this.
Yeah, I guess we just assumed that you knew that.
Yeah, especially this scene in his acting where just the confusion of like everyone's watching him and this Green Knight is just kneeling down like with his head tilted, like go for it, like just chop off my fucking. And it's like, you know, like, what am I imagine he almost feels humiliated. Like, this is stupid. He probably is thinking, like, this is really fucking dumb.
Well, it's also a thing, like I said, how we very clearly understand the situation and who Gawain is. He is this, he's not a knight. He has no tales of honor to tell. And he's in this room with a bunch of knights.
Yeah,
because
Arthur even is like, do you know who all these men are? And Gawain's like, legends.
Yeah.
You know?
So he's standing around and he just volunteered to do something that could bring him honor.
And he's thinking it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Which is like, this will be sick. Like, I can be in this cool sword fight in front of all these cool guys. And like,
and then this guy just kneels down and he's just looking around like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
right
like,
now?
what kind of test is this? Am I being pranked? Which, like, kind of.
So Gawain just decides, well, I said I would do it. So here I go, and he just decapitates
chomps his head off. My favorite, and this is like different versions of the story. The version I read had Arthur when the Green Knight poses this challenge, and the challenge was specifically like, you get to just hit me with my axe, and you get to keep my axe as a prize, which is also the terms in this. The Gawain gets to keep the axe.
He doesn't even use it for anything.
No, but
he
it's
just
cool.
kind of wrap it up for the whole year.
I think it's kind of neat.
I would have used it. He set that on the ground and grass started growing around it. We could use that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But in the version I read, Arthur takes Gawain aside and is like, dude, if you just chop off his head with his axe, you're not going to have to worry about the return, you know, a year later. Like, he'll just be dead. Like, there's a loophole, use it. And so he chops off his head, and obviously that doesn't go the way they think it's going to go.
Yeah, because Green Knight picks up his head and is like,
1 year hence. Oh my god.
The cut when
there's
he's
an
riding
edit
away
in this that is so fun. It reminded me of that Simpsons episode with the street cleaner.
Yeah.
Where he like runs over Bart's bike and then immediately goes into the subway and is laughing maniacally the entire time. It just same vibes. Yeah, Guinevere faints and everything's just all green and scary.
And just jumps forward a year.
Yeah, we get like a SpongeBob, like 1 year later.
It's like one too short of a year later.
Too short of a year later, yeah. I like because when I was reading kind of analyses of the original story, one of the big themes is just time and like the passage of time. And it's not even like specifically like time leading up to death, but just the feeling of time passing in like seasons and stuff. So I love that in this little puppet show there's like the wheel with the seasons, and there's so much care put into this. It's wild. Like just so many, just doing my research beforehand, just so many of the different takes on the story are so present here that it's like it's so lovingly done and is like so considerate of like all these different readings of this story. Like the too short of a year later is just like the panic of just time passing and you can't do anything about it, and the dread leading up to this other Christmas.
Especially because he doesn't seem to have done anything in the year, just continued to drink and sleep around, and then it's like, oh, Christmas time again.
Yeah, I wonder if that year is just him thinking like, I'm just gonna get my head chopped off in a year. Like, why would I bother?
That is one thing that I do wish the movie conveyed better. When you told me the story, I got the feeling that a lot of the story was him dreading this certainty of death that he would have to face, and then when he rides out, him going to find the Green Knight was him going to his own death. And I don't think the movie conveyed enough of that. That
just the
sense
choice
of like that like him realizing I am riding to my death this really sucks.
Well, I think the reason the movie does this differently is because, remember, he gets the girdle before he leaves. So his mother and the other witches make him this green girdle, which is in like medieval clothing. If you imagine like a medieval lady, she has like the kind of like straight up and down dress and that thing around her waist where it like goes down in the front. That's a girdle. And they put like, it's like magic, and they're like, this will protect you from anything. So he rides out with this girdle and is like, sweet. I don't think he's thinking at that point he's gonna die. I think he feels very protected by this magic. And meanwhile, in the original story, he doesn't get that girdle until he stays at the Lord and Lady's castle, which is much later in the movie.
The one shot that did convey to me the feeling of, oh shit, how did it already become this time, is when he sees the first snowflake fall. And it's like, he sees that and it's like, oh, I know that winter is here. Christmas is almost here. It's time for me to do this. And at first he doesn't think he really has to. And Arthur's like, nope, you said you did. So you've got to.
Now that you mention it, I do think a lot of this year leading up to it was maybe him thinking like, no one's expecting me to go, right?
Yeah, or trying to put that in the back of his mind, just drink
not
away.
Even think about it. Yeah, but nope, he's got to go. And Arthur's like, no, man, like, is it wrong to want greatness for you? And even his mother says, don't waste this, as she gives him the girdle.
She does say
so
that, yeah.
I feel like everyone's in on this shit a little bit.
It almost seems like everyone's like, it seems like the town got together one night after he passed out and was like, listen, Gawain's got potential, but that guy's just fucking around.
Yeah, we all agree. Great guy.
But like, we needs a good kick in the ass.
Yeah, he was gonna say he needs a kick in the ass.
So
exactly.
like, let's all get together and send him out on this thing.
Yeah.
And then time comes and he's like, I don't really have to do that. I was like, no, you got to, man.
I do think the sense of him maybe realizing like, oh, fuck, this might not end great, is that really long shot of him riding away from Camelot.
Love that shot, yeah.
Fuck, that shot's so good, with the kids yelling after him in the background, and then there's like a shepherd that crosses, and then he kind of looks behind him and realizes like,
yeah.
And like that shot, and which is I think something that maybe doesn't get conveyed often, at least not in like King Arthur adaptations I've seen, is just how like weird and empty and scary England would have been.
Yeah, or
just the world in general.
Yeah. The city, which prior to that we had been inside of, and it seemed lively. But as you leave it, you see it's just this walled-in place surrounded by empty fields. Yeah, and that's it.
Well, it's like no wonder they all believed in like creatures and magic, and because like it'd be scary to just go wandering around out there. Your mind would go insane making up like what's out there. Hey, want to talk to you about our first sponsor this week, Mack Weldon. I have James here with me to talk about Mack Weldon.
Talk about Big Mack Weldon.
Oh my god, my microphone.
It's not attuned to my voice.
No, it's not.
I'll stand back further.
It's attuned to my voice. Which
Big Mack Weldon.
Mack Weldon, men's undies.
It's men's clothes. And I have a bunch. I'm literally wearing a pair of Mack Weldon underwear right now.
Oh yeah, he is pulling down his pants to show me his underwear.
Well, don't make it sound profane. No, I'm just showing you the wonderful knit and tight fit, but not too tight. It's real comfortable. Here's the thing with Mack Weldon. I've ordered from them a couple of times, and I trust Mack Weldon so much, I get them for all the stuff I wear around my nether regions. So I got a bunch of underwear from Mack Weldon, and my swimsuit is from Mack Weldon.
I think the swimsuits are really cute.
They are. They're finally like, I finally got to replace my swimsuit from like 15 years ago. Baggy, nasty, elastic. Mack Weldon is real nice, a real nice fit, and fun designs and patterns. It's not just like a blank brown color. I love it, man.
So yeah, check out their new daily wear system also. They have this new line of clothes that they all are made to kind of work together with performance fabrics. They all look cohesive, so you're not buying something and like, great, I only have like 2 things I can wear this with. Well, if you want to buy some time this summer with the Mack Weldon daily wear system, for 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com/deadmeat and enter promo code deadmeat. One more time, that is mackweldon.com/deadmeat, promo code deadmeat for 20% off. Mack Weldon, radically efficient wardrobing.
Big Mac Weldon!
Our other sponsor this week is BetterHelp Online Therapy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It is more affordable than in-person therapy, so you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. I use BetterHelp. I personally find it super useful because life is just full of things that are gonna be stressful. It doesn't really matter who you are, what you do, things are gonna come up. And even weeks where I'm doing pretty okay and maybe don't feel like I need to talk to someone, it still is nice to do a weekly check-in with someone. I think it's super healthy. Just kind of talk about what's going on with someone who's just there to listen to you. So if you want to see if BetterHelp is for you, we're sponsored by BetterHelp. So Dead Meat Podcast listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/deadmeat. That's BetterHelp.com/deadmeat. So yeah, as he's riding along, we get our first little kind of vignette, which is called A Kindness. And he finds a guy.
Is this the scavenger?
Yeah.
Fucking we love the scavenger, dude.
Yeah.
What a little shit.
Extreme, he looks like a cousin of Connor O'Malley.
He's
they could be related.
He's got Ramsey energy because when
he
we
does
first
have
meet
Ramsey energy. Yeah,
he disguises himself as a friendly guy.
Yep,
and that's what the scavenger kind of does as he's running alongside Gawain on the horse. I love this guy.
He's speaking of Renaissance fairs, he's the guy who would be in character at a Renaissance fair who's just there to piss you off and is extremely clever about it.
Yeah,
no matter what comeback you have for this weird dude, he's ready for you. That's the kind of guy I feel like this is. But yeah, he's kind of looking for spoils on this giant battlefield, and he says, yeah, I had two of my brothers go off to battle. They both probably died. And so, I don't know, I'm just gonna look for stuff that's here. And
I would have lasted longer than all these guys. I would have seen the king and
I would have rock bottomed King Arthur. Yeah. He's great. I love him. And Gawain's we're not burying any of these guys. And this is kind of a first very explicit mention of nature and just nature's relationship with death, where he's no, nature will do its job, nature will take him. And yeah, that's just all over this movie. Just no matter what, humans will always be trumped by nature in the end. And yeah.
Yeah, so. Scavenger asks, he gives some directions on how to get to the Green Chapel that Gawain's looking for.
Yeah, and then Gawain's thanks, bye.
He's what? What? My directions ain't worth shit? What? Give me some coins, man.
It's very he's Elmo in Times Square. You have to give him a tip if take pictures, or else maybe they'll get mad. Do you know what I'm talking those characters in Times Square or on Hollywood Boulevard?
Expect Elmo as your
I don't know, I just thought of Elmo first, but they work for tips. They'll take fun little pictures with you, but it's he'll give you directions.
What? My picture's not worth anything?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
You don't like my SpongeBob costume?
No, I said thank you.
Yeah. Gawain then just flips him a coin, which is almost worse. Do you know what I mean? And so then as Gawain gets into the forest, they're bandits. Yeah, it's a trap, and we've got our weird guy back with his two other bandit friends, and Gawain denies that he's a knight, and
he's not.
Which he's technically not.
Yeah, they tie him up and steal his axe and horse.
And specifically the girdle. They take the girdle away from him.
That's right,
yeah. And so Gawain is freaking out because in his head it's fuck, this is my safety blanket. It really is his baby blanket, this whole movie kind of. And they also, imagery that I really like, they take his shield, which has a kind of fresco or a painting of the baby Jesus and Virgin Mary, and they stomp on it, and it splits in half, which is I thought of him and his mom, and the director said, David Lowery, his relationship with his mom and kind of failure to launch shit, where it was I needed to get that push to be my own person, and that felt very personal, kind of just the he's out in the world now, severing that connection, and also just the reads on the Green Knight in general, where a lot of scholars believe that the Green Knight is an allegory for the Christianity versus paganism. paganism is all about nature, and the Green Knight is like just the most pagan looking fucking guy, and yeah, like nature overtaking man. We have this shield out in the wild that's this image of Christianity getting stomped out in the middle of the woods, right? It's, yeah. So I think that's there too, that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, they leave him tied up, and there's a very cool circle pan that goes from him tied up and struggling, and then it goes all the way around, and it comes back, and it's a skeleton tied up.
See, it's a horror movie. He's spooky. He's skeleton.
And then it goes back around the other way, and just kidding, he's still alive. I like to think that that's his...
I think he just was thinking...
envisioning that, and that's his motivation to get out of there, so he wriggles his way to his sword and cuts himself free.
Yeah, I think it was a moment of him realizing, like, I could just give up and lay here and let nature run its course and die here, and I just become one with the forest, and... No, and then yeah, he cuts himself out of his restraints. And by the way, that like kind of spinning camera movement, there's like a jitter effect going on in it. Did you notice that? Where it jitters. It's very unsettling. It happens twice, I think. I did see some people on Twitter saying this movie made them feel motion sick, and I'm wondering if it's that shot, because I don't really get motion sick watching stuff, but that sequence, I was like, I could see how this would be really annoying to watch if you get sick watching. Like if stuff on screen gets to you. So I guess fair warning. It's not that bad, but just kind of a weird effect. Yeah, so yeah, the bandits have taken all this shit. They take the Green Knight's axe and are just doing stunts with it.
Dude, the Scoundrel almost hits his little bandit buddy.
They're like, this is, I'm bandit number 2 and this is jackass kind of shit. Yeah, they're having a good time. They run away. They take the horse too. Gringolet, I think is the horse's name.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's a meeting with Saint Winifred.
Yeah, so now we go to our next vignette where Gawain's been walking through the woods and he finds this house that, from what he can tell, is empty.
Very abandoned. The food crumbles in his hands.
Yeah, it looks gross.
So he goes upstairs and hops in the bed.
Yep.
And it's just right for him. Takes a little snooze.
Yeah, but then he wakes up and oops, there's a lady there.
Yep.
And she is talking to him, and all of a sudden she moves forward, and she like just kind of glides forward. It's really creepy.
Very cool, yeah. She's definitely on one of those awesome ass hoverboards that influencers had in 2016.
Dude, I wonder if she was just on a hoverboard.
Yeah, because her feet are out of camera.
If you worked on the Green Knight and you somehow have a picture of this, and if it is a hoverboard, give me that picture. I need it. I want that picture. And I'll go in like the Hall of Fame next to the like set pictures from Marie Antoinette, where it's Kirsten Dunst and Jason Schwartzman like on an Apple like laptop or listening to iPods. She tells him like, all right, this lake outside, my head is in there. Can you go get it? And he's like, you have a head. And she's like, no, but I don't really. So what happened was I live in this house and this guy showed up and wanted to lay with me. And I said no. And they came back later and he chopped off my head.
And now it's in this spring.
And now it's in the, yeah. So he dives down to go get it. First, he asks for payment, though. And she's like, dude, I just told you this, like, really fucked up story. And you're going to ask for payment. Why would you? She says, why would you ask that?
Yeah,
and I think it's very
even
funny.
Ask that?
So he dives in there in this very cool sequence, which was one where I was like, wish we saw this in a theater.
Oh yeah, it's very dark.
It's very dark, but the visuals are cool. The water, like the lighting in the water turns like red and it's creepy, and he grabs the skull.
Grabs that skull pretty forcefully.
He's like Crane Games that skull.
Yeah,
out of the
dude,
water.
maybe a little bit more gingerly with the skull that's been resting underwater for who knows how long.
Yeah, so he comes back up out of the water. She's gone. And then when he goes back in the house, he sees, I was laying in bed with a skeleton the whole time. So
yep,
that's
Skelly in the bed.
Yeah, headless Skelly, and he puts the head back, but not before it turns into like a real head for a little bit. And she says something about how she says the Green Knight is someone you know, and very cryptically. And then so he puts the head back on the Skelly. He does okay with that quest. He shouldn't have asked for payment, but he did go get the head. And I guess in reward, he gets the axe back. He gets, the axe shows back up. Yeah, so he gets like a B- for that one. I feel like he tried. The next one, we got a title that just has an interlude. There's maybe dinosaur bones in the background. We couldn't tell.
Yeah, is this when he eats a mushroom?
Yeah, this is when he has...
sees a bunch of giants.
He does the Beavis and Butthead Do America peyote desert trip where he just is eating stuff that he finds.
Random mushrooms,
Don't just
dude.
eat random shrooms or
Oh,
cactuses.
by now he's friends with the fox.
Yes, that's right. There's this little fox that is following him, and at first he throws rocks at it and is like, don't be my friend, which I guess if you're in one of these stories, like, maybe I could understand that. Sometimes foxes are little tricksters, you know, they're clever and
cunning.
So yeah, next day he gets up, keeps walking, and there's giants.
Yeah, big naked ladies.
This sequence was so cool.
Giant women.
Giant woman. Oh my god, I hope We Hate Movies has seen this. There's so many giant women in this. Like, there's a whole parade of them.
Yeah, because I think I saw a tweet from Steve saying, I'm glad that they're letting Ralph Ineson do movies without makeup now. Just letting him be himself.
Oh, okay.
So I think, yeah, he did see Green Knight.
But Ralph Ineson...
Implying that that's how Ralph Ineson
Oh, yeah. I mean, he might as well. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if, like, every other time he's had people makeup on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you just see this giant arm reach over a mountain. Like, I just wasn't
That's
expecting
really
it.
cool,
It's so cool. Like,
reaches up.
because you know that this world's magical, but you're just not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very cool. They're all these naked ladies. I was laughing reading an interview with David Lowery because he was talking about filming that part. He was like, it was just really weird because it's just all these naked women and like on like a green screen. And I'm just like, okay, just walk around kind of slow. Like, so he yells up at them and is like, yo, can I hitch a ride?
The way he says it sounds so weird. It sounds like a different language. May a weary traveler hitch a ride on your shoulder or something like that.
It says, may a weary traveler traverse the valley on your shoulders or something.
But the way he says it, I'm glad we had captions on because the way he says it, I was
very
like, what?
sing-songy, yeah.
Yeah, and then the giant's like, okay.
The giant's like, okay, and it goes to reach, and Gawain kind of flinches, and the fox growls at it.
Yeah, the giant don't like that.
And at first I wasn't sure what to make of this, but I guess after the movie ended and I had the context of everything, I feel like that scene is just a very literal, like, the fox kind of as a guide, understanding that literally, and I can't take credit for this, I saw this comment on Reddit, and I thought it was very smart, that him hitching a ride would literally be standing on the shoulders of giants. This is the easy way to get where he's going. He has to, like, make the journey, you know? Just, yeah, you can't, like, standing on the shoulders of other men kind of thing is not what he is going to leave him fulfilled in the end. So, and now he finally finds a castle. We're back to the story that I'm familiar with, because all these little vignettes are not...
You did not relay them to me when you told me the story.
These, I'm not sure if these are like totally invented or if
maybe
they're
just in different versions of
borrowed
it.
or like borrowed from other
tales,
stories.
yeah.
I don't know. But in any case, now we are like, we're back in like the original story. We're at this castle where Joel Edgerton is in the building.
We love Joel Edgerton.
Dude, I don't know why. Like, why are we so upset? Like, I think
The Gift did a lot for us.
The Gift is one of the craziest
and then
movies.
he's Uncle Owen in the prequels.
There's been some other stuff that he's been into where I'm like, man, I like everything he's in.
Yeah, I really think The Gift did a lot.
I love him. He's great.
Yeah.
He's very warm in this one, which I love. I just
like his face.
I know, I just like his face too. He would be a good Henry VIII in something, I think. Like, I think he would be able to play the like warm Henry VIII that is like, you can't help but like him, like the charisma, and also the like really scary, impatient man that would throw you in prison and or chop your head off. Yeah, the lady of the castle is also Alicia Vikander. Different character, but played by the same actress.
Gotta say, the stuff with the Lord and the Lady, this was when I start to get a little bit bored with the movie.
Is this like, this was a for you?
Yeah. This, what would this be? Like Act 2B, maybe 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like,
I think maybe compared to everything else, if I had to pick a segment, I guess this...
It's because everything else was so fantastical, and now he's just hanging out with these, like, this Lord and Lady who are, like, the dialogue's good and the acting's good, but, like, I was just watching naked giants.
Yeah, now we're just in a castle, I guess, but the castle itself is very weird. I even wrote, like, this castle feels instantly weird. It feels out of time because and my knowledge here might be not right, but the building itself doesn't look medieval to me. The like color of the walls, and there's like molding everywhere, which I feel like is not medieval. Like there's it's weird. And we even have the lady of the castle doing essentially like a very old school photograph. She builds a camera obscura and basically makes like a, not like a tintype, but like a daguerreotype, right? Is that what that is? Where it's like this, she like makes a pinhole camera and essentially takes a photo of Gawain. So like there's something weird, just that weird out of timeness.
Yeah, because he calls it a queer painting.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that relates to this whole story dealing with time and the passage of time. So I guess it makes sense that this castle, which is like so important to the story, would be this weird space where time doesn't feel like it exists. And he even is asked like, spend time here. You know, we know where the Green Chapel is. You could hang out here till Christmas. It's December 21st. Just chill, like just literally spend time here. And so he does. He hangs out there for like a couple days.
There's a lady there, an older lady with bandage wrapped around her eyes, just like his mom was in the witch ceremony.
Yeah, in some versions of the story, this woman is present, and it is Morgan, like magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
Yeah, so yeah, this old blind woman is here, or at least old blindfolded woman. And then Joel Edgerton comes back, and I love that he goes, Gawain, look! Like, literally, just, he's so happy. I got you this! He's just so, like, he came back from his hunt, and he's so sweet and, like, just excited that he got stuff for his new friend. And that night, he goes, ooh, I have an idea. Let's play a game. Everyone's playing games in this story.
Game.
Again, yeah, just game.
Yeah,
They're
I'll
bored.
go hunt, and I'll give you what I hunt, and you just kind of look around the house, and you give me what you find.
Yeah, and
cool game.
Even Gawain is like, what? Like, that sounds weird. Again, it's funny that Gawain, I like that they have him being the character who is like, everyone else thinks this is weird, right? Like, the knight's kneeling down, and he's like, I don't understand what this game is supposed to be. And same here, he's like, but Joel Edgerton, you live here. Why would I... What would be fun about you giving me stuff you find on the hunt and I just give you stuff you already own, question mark? And then Joel Edgerton's like, fuck my wife. So, yeah. And by the way, the initial thing he brings back for him is a deer. Mm-hmm. And that is something where in some versions of the story, this is something that like people analyze. The first night, he stays in the castle for 3 nights. The first night, the Lord brings him a deer. The second night, he brings him a boar. And the third night, he brings him the fox. And it's kind of like, it relates to just the struggle that Gawain has with the lady. She comes on to him and Gawain is like, no. And also the intensity of her advances every night. So the first night is like a pretty easy, he's able to, I think, turn her down pretty easily. So that's like, the deer is like, you know, the second night is the boar, which is like she's being a little bit more aggressive and he has to be a bit more cunning and aggressive to like be like, no, this is not right. And the third night is he gets the fox, and the fox is he has to be a bit more clever in terms of how he gets out of this kind of seduction, because what it is, and this is like knightly code and shit, which is stuff that for like a modern audience is maybe weird, but you have like knightly code where he has to uphold like chivalric values of a knight, which would include don't fuck the wife of the lord's castle that you're staying at, but also he has to, as a knight, he is beholden to this ideal of courtly love, which is what the women of the era are like beholden to and practice. And courtly love and chivalry kind of collide here when she demands like a kiss and more. And a knight can't deny a damsel. But in this instance, that conflicts with, but I also can't fuck this guy's wife. So like, what do I do? And Gawain has to kind of tiptoe this really fine line in terms of like, how do I get out of this? And he essentially is able to navigate his way out of in the story by being like, listen, I'm not gonna, she initially offers him a ring and he's like, okay, I'm not taking your ring because I'm gonna have to give it to your husband and then it's awkward. And then she says, well, at least take this girdle. That's when she gives him the girdle. And she says, it'll protect you from anything. And then he kind of stops and is like, okay, I could use that. But he hides it and doesn't show it to the Lord. So he kind of is like, he's a little clever here and sneaky. And that's why the fox is very tied to Gawain. There's even like a picture in the movie later. There's like above his bed, there's like that image of the fox with
like a person's head.
Yeah. So they're super interlinked.
Yeah, and I think knowing the story ahead of time, which I do think was valuable before watching this movie, but I do think it's probably the reason why this part of the movie felt off to me, because I was expecting the structure of the story, where you told me it was like a tale in 3 beats with like, oh, he gives her a kiss, or she gives him a kiss. And then when the Lord's like, all right, what'd you find around the house?
Gives him a kiss.
And Gawain gives him a kiss. And he's like, oh, cool. And then that happens another 2 times.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case in the movie.
No, it doesn't. Which I think is fine, because I think by this point they're doing so much other stuff with the story. I think they condensed this part of it, which it's fine. It works for
they still kiss.
Yeah.
The guys kiss.
Yeah. Well, they have, so after this, the same night that he proposes the exchange in the game, there's this conversation kind of like around the fire where they're talking about like nature versus...
Oh, this is like her monologue.
Yeah,
she's
monologuing.
Yeah. This was one of those speeches where like a minute in, I was like, oh, this is a speech. This is like a thematic thing.
We're doing
it starts here, and I'm like kind of paying attention, and then she's still talking. After 60 seconds, I'm like, oh no, this is an important thing.
Yeah, I like this whole scene is great.
Cool,
I was scribbling furiously in my notebook, because Joel Edgerton starts off by talking about how home is, it's your 4 walls that are safe from nature, and that reminds me, we were talking about the image of Camelot, and just how, especially back then, nature is scary as fuck. You know, just the wider world is scary, and the man-made structure of a home versus everything outside, and it's like nature, and he specifically says it's protection against things that don't make sense. They also kind of talk about how green represents both life and death. It's plants and growth, but it's also rot, mold, and moss, and how Alicia Vikander points out that like we use it to our ends, like we humans desire to harness it, and we cultivate it, but we also destroy it. Like, you know, if moss comes up through the cobblestones, we get rid of it, and as soon as it breaches our 4 walls, we destroy it. And you know, the color red, how like the red always succumbs to green, like blood versus, or blood or passion or just like life, you know, red's very lively, will always be trumped by green. I like this whole monologue a lot. The next morning, the lady comes to his room, and I don't know, I feel like at this point A24 is like, we need jizz in our movie. Jizz and everything.
What else has jizz?
The lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's goopy.
Yeah, that's a goopy movie. This is a very goopy movie.
A goopy movie.
So the lady comes to his room. She's wearing the girdle, which, if you remember, it was stolen by bandits. So how did they get it? I just feel like everything is magical in this world, and they're all kind of in on it together.
She said she made it.
That's a lie. She says she made it, and she tells him, wear it and you won't be struck down.
She's like, you want this girdle? Tell me you want this girdle.
Yeah, tell me you want it. Tell me
I want the girdle.
And
I want the girdle.
Yeah.
And then it's
he jizzes all over the girdle.
It's
a cum girdle now. Yeah. Interestingly, earlier he like couldn't get it up for Essel.
Yeah.
And now he can get it up for the cum girdle. I don't even think it's for the lady. I think it's just like he wants that girdle. He needs the baby blanket, and that's why she says you're no knight, because
he takes it and runs.
Yeah, he needs his security blanket.
The old lady was standing there the whole time.
Yeah, also the blindfolded lady was there the whole time, and I was thinking about her and like what she kind of represents there, and just in general that character, because again in like the stories that character is often Morgan Le Fay, and I wonder like, is she a witch? Because the witches, we see them blindfolded earlier in the movie while they're doing magic, and I also kind of wonder, one, she could be almost like a kind of eyes and ears of Morgan, you know? And also I think she kind of represents the like the conundrum that comes up later when the fox tells Gawain, hey, if you just chicken out and go home, I won't tell anyone, and like no one would know any better. Everyone would think you did the thing and you would be a hero. And I think this is a similar thing where he fails this test. He succumbs to the lady and taking the girdle because he is not in that moment brave enough to go without it to face the Green Knight. And I think she kind of represents that feeling of, you know, she didn't see anything, so why is he so ashamed of what happened? And also even just being like naked right there. It's like, what is he, if she can't see anything, why would he feel shame? And I feel like it's that same idea of, even if no one knows, that you would still, he knows, and he would still feel that shame. I think it's kind of like a mirror of that. As he's running away, he grabs his axe and the girdle, and Joel Edgerton's in the woods. You see he's shot and killed a boar, the second animal that's often in the stories. That's like the second night of the exchange, is laying there dead, which I thought was like a nice touch. And
then he's got the fox in a bag.
Yes, and he says, well, I caught this little guy. And at first Gawain is like, I don't have anything. Joel Edgerton's like, I feel like you've got something. And it's almost a little scary at first because you're like, what is he gonna go for here? But he just leans in for like a really long kiss.
Yeah.
And Gawain's like, okay, I'm gonna leave now. Doesn't surrender the girdle, which was the whole point of the game, because it was something he received while he was at the castle. And because I think the Lord knows this, he says, well, here's my winnings for the day. I'm just gonna let him go. I got this guy in a trap. I'm just gonna let him go. Like, he doesn't give him to Gawain. He just kind of dumps him out on the ground. And
little fox guy.
The fox is so cute. It's so cute. Yeah, definitely all CGI, right?
Yeah.
It's such a little Lucy. Gawain rows to the Green Chapel, which is this kind of mossy, like, I don't know.
Ruins?
Yeah, it looks like ruins. There's just very green
pretty cool.
trees. It's pretty. The Green Knight is asleep. And I think what happens here is this is when Gawain, I think, realizes the Lord of the Castle wasn't lying at all about, like, this is exactly how far the chapel is. If you leave on this day, you'll make it there just in time for your challenge. But since Gawain fled and left essentially a day early, he now has to just sit here all day because the Green Knight is very punctual and is gonna, you know, I said this certain day, we're gonna have our little fight this certain day. I'm sleeping, and Gawain just kind of sits here. And there's this shot where it shows the Green Knight's face and it morphs a bunch of times, and apparently it morphs digitally into Joel Edgerton's face, and it also morphs through like a bunch of the other characters. It's super subtle. I guess
yeah, I didn't notice that.
David Lowery said they played with it a bunch in post, and he wanted it to be like barely noticeable. But I did notice something weird was going on.
Well, in the story, the Lord reveals that he's the Green Knight, right?
Correct. The Lord of the castle is the Green Knight, which is, again, why he knows he's lying about the girdle. He's very magical. When Christmas does come, the Green Knight basically wakes up and is like, Merry Christmas, time to chop off your head now. And he has Gawain kneel down, and Gawain is like, wait, that's it? Like, I love how informal it feels. There's like no ceremony, there's no grand, like, and now Gawain, you will kneel and I will. It's very much like, okay, you're here, like, get down, I'm gonna chop your head off. And that's the line of Gawain saying, wait, is that all there is? And
it's like, what ought there be more, or something like that.
It just felt very like, I mean, I guess the most obviously just the maybe suddenness or randomness of death, or just how anticlimactic it is at the end of a life.
Yeah.
Or just the feeling of, you know, pursuing something your whole life and having this idea of like doing this thing would fulfill me and make me great, and then realizing how empty it kind of is, and just, oh, what comes after this, you know, like there's not much fulfillment to this moment. And yeah, Gawain flinches when the Green Knight swings his axe, and he keeps flinching, and the Green Knight's like, I didn't flinch back when you chopped my head off, and you should be ready. You had a whole year to get your shit together. And Gawain says, like, it doesn't matter if it's a year or 100, you'll never be ready, which I feel like is, again, just a very obvious, like, no one's ready to die, you know. you're not like, it's hard to make peace with that. Doesn't matter how long you live for. And so then Gawain just books it. He runs. And me having read the original story, I'm like, whoa, what are we doing?
Yeah, I was like, this is not what Chelsea told me would happen.
After a few minutes, I realized what it was doing. And I also think maybe I realized that because we had pretty recently watched The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah. Which, you're right, is the same kind of ending. But what's really cool about this and the Green Knight is that when he flees, like from the moment he flees the Green Knight, there's no dialogue.
Yes, this whole sequence
really
is
cool.
This ending sequence, I was riveted the whole time.
I don't even know how long it goes on for. Maybe just like 5 minutes.
But it feels like, I think it feels long on purpose.
Yeah.
It's his entire life.
Yeah,
and
we watch his life.
we see he comes home and he hooks back up with Essel. The girdle stays on during sex. He's wearing it.
Yep.
Yeah, the cum girdle stays on. And he gets her pregnant and she gives birth. He takes the baby and leaves her with a sack of money.
Yeah.
Because she's a commoner.
She's a commoner.
And I think this whole sequence is just his future as he imagines it, having lied about doing this task or fulfilling his end of this bargain, and 2, his life as he sees it, where he's living the way he's kind of supposed to. You know, like he
being made king and knighted from Arthur.
And doing all the right kingly things. And, you know, so a kingly thing is not being with a commoner. And so...
I think the last dialogue we get is him running away being like, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. He gets knighted while Arthur is just dying.
Yeah.
Arthur and Guinevere look like shit. It all feels very empty. Like, I love the fact that they show him being knighted. I just had a moment realizing, like, just being knighted by this really frail Arthur on his deathbed, and just realizing how unimportant in the scheme of things being knighted. It's like, okay, Arthur's just gonna die. Like, no, it all feels so stupid. Like, I'm making you get out of your deathbed to do this weird, like, LARP with me, and then you're gonna get back in bed and just die. Like, what's the point of all this? It's all so weird and silly, you know?
Yeah.
And so Gawain inherits the throne because, again, Arthur does not have a rightful heir, like a son to inherit. He has a son with Essel that he's raising to be his heir.
But he gets killed in battle.
Yeah, he sees that his son dies in battle. Dude, the aging they do on Dev Patel, he ages.
Good.
He's a silver fox by the end of the sequence. He looks like, I don't know, he looks like he stepped out of time. I can't explain it.
The
like,
makeup aging him is phenomenal.
Yeah, and he also just looks like a historical figure. I don't know, like, he just looks so legit to me. And I'm, you know, again, like, Arthurian fan, it's all fantasy. Like, if anyone's weird about the race casting in this, I don't fucking care. Don't.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it.
Honestly, I didn't think about it at all during this. And he looks the part. Sorry. He looks like a medieval king. His facial hair is cool. It's like this forked kind of like mustache beard.
It's real cool.
He looks dope as fuck.
But people don't like him. They're throwing shit at him like he was Joffrey.
He gets
It's a little mud
poop,
pie.
maybe, or is it mud? Well, mud pie's poop.
Yeah, I think he gets a little mud pie.
Get a little mud pie thrown at him. He sees Essel in the crowd of peasants, and then there's war outside the castle. Basically, the castle falls, the kingdom falls, and in this last sequence we see him removing the girdle, but he's like pulling it out from inside himself.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so gross. And as he pulls off the girdle, his head in this vision falls off.
It's like that classic old tale with the woman with the scarf
ribbon,
around her neck.
yeah.
Yeah, the ribbon.
And then we cut back and he's kneeling in front of the Green Knight, and
when it cuts back, I was like, oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
When it cuts back, he then, after having this fucking vision, is like, he takes off the girdle and he finally says, I'm ready. And that's when the Green Knight kneels down and touches his face and is like, very well done. And it's so cute. And
then he just runs his finger along his neck and is like, now, off with your head.
With your head.
With a little smirk.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends.
It's a little ambiguous. Having read the original story, I think this was done in jest and is a kind of sweet, almost fatherly mocking of him.
The way he says it, he's not going to cut off his head,
it's very... Man. And also, like, what would the point have all been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a test.
He passed.
He had a whole bunch of tests throughout this journey. Some he got B-minuses on. Others he did a little better or worse on. But this one, the one that mattered most... He all the pop quizzes he did meh. When it came to the final exam, he got a passing grade.
And it's interesting thinking back, after the end of the movie to stuff where you're like, I'm not sure what the significance was, but like Winifred, with Gawain finally being like, all right, I'm ready to lose my head. In Winifred's story, she lost her head defending her honor. Winifred, when it came down to it, she was ready to die rather than, give in to some guy who wants to sleep with her. And I think she's kind of like an example for him later on, where I think he realizes, like, no, this empty life and this false victory is not worth keeping my head for, and therefore this is what I think will be worth, like, putting my body on the line for, which I think is like a neat little parallel between those two.
Yeah.
Also, if you missed it, there is a post-credit scene.
Yeah, we just kind of let the medieval text, and I forget if there was music, but we just let it roll.
There's a cool little credit sequence, and I think this is kind of confirmation that he lives, and I think this is supposed to be his daughter.
Maybe, yeah.
And we know that, like, his life is, I think, different because this is like a different kid than we saw in, compared to like the visions and stuff. And we see this little girl pick up his crown and put it on, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah, I really, really loved this movie a lot. I just think there's so much to it. I feel like I just talked for so long.
I tend to need a little bit of hand-holding when it comes to certain movies and their interpretations, and I always appreciate having something spoon-fed to me a little bit. This wasn't quite as opaque as, for instance, I'm thinking of Ending Things, but this was one of those where, like, I'm watching and I'm like, I think I get the gist of it, and then when I'm told, I'm like, yeah, that's about what I thought.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have those thoughts clarified and kind of solidified.
Yeah. And it's so cool because there's so much else to read into this too. Like, I don't think my interpretations of things are by far, like, the end all of what's going on here. I think there's so many layers, and again, I feel like that does owe a lot to the fact that the original story is so, like, over centuries has been interpreted so many different ways that then David Lowery's able to take this story with all of its meaning that has been assigned to it and put it all in a movie.
At the very least, it looks beautiful.
God, it's so gorgeous.
And it's pretty chill.
Yeah.
It's just 2 hours of, like, a gorgeous, like, adventure that you can just sit back and watch.
This is just my type of thing that I love. Like, I often struggle with like modern movies and their third acts, because often now I feel like a third act, it seems to be, it's either got to be a giant fight or just some kind of big set piece or like an action sequence, and it's why I can't with superhero movies. I get very bored. I just don't like it. The third act's just, I'm always like, I check out. I don't love it. And this movie is the opposite of that. For as much as maybe, and I bet this is why the audience response to this was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Because you go in and it's like, there's a lot of guys with swords and we're not getting any sword fights really at all in this. And it's not really action-y. It's, the third act is this really big emotional resolution that I think hits so hard and I think is so beautifully done and is like really satisfying, but there's no big like climactic fight or anything. And I think that that's so wonderful. And you just don't see that often. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. This movie just is a vibe. I just enjoyed it's 130 minutes. It all felt like I was into it the entire time, Yeah. Just everything about it. So good. Definitely it might just be my favorite of the year. I don't know how many movies I've even watched this year though. Yeah. I don't know. That's the Green Knight.
That's Green
Would
Knight.
you liked it?
I liked it, yeah.
I can't wait to get it on 4K and we can watch it on Christmas.
Yeah. Good Christmas.
A friendly Christmas game. Just normal shit. That's that. I'm not really sure what we're doing next week at all.
Isn't it a review of a certain movie?
That's right. Are we saying what it is?
If you want. We gotta watch it tonight or tomorrow because we got that screener link.
Okay. Yes, we got a ooh, it's always so exciting we get a screener. But fear not, because this movie, by the time our podcast about it comes out, you'll all be able to watch it. And that movie is Candyman. Tony Todd walks in. Hey, guys.
No, I try it every night. Never works.
I know. Oh, man. Tony, please.
Yeah, so we'll watch Candyman, and then we'll talk about that. So,
That's probably going to be another fucking long-ass episode where we're just, like, analyzing.
Yeah. Sorry for you editing these.
At least both these movies are new releases, so I can't really put in clips of them.
Can't put in clips.
That takes up a lot of the time. So, thank you guys for watching and joining this week.
Yeah.
For a not horror movie.
Yeah, you'll get a horror movie next week. Don't worry.
Yes.
Until then, you can follow Dead Meat on social media at Dead Meat James on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm at Carebeck, Carebecc, on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, and also we're recording this Friday night, and I just saw on Twitter that CM Punk confirmed AEW premiere. So,
yeah,
I'm
gotta go check that out. Are you just getting antsy?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
let's go. Yeah, let's go check that out.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Until next time, I'm James.
I'm Chelsea, and this has been the Dead Meat Podcast.
We're mixing it up.
Mixing it up.